Guys, can you feel the heat? It must be summertime, and with summertime comes the movie blockbusters. We have James Gunn's Superman 2025, written and directed by that man. I had a chance to see it. Let's talk about it. This is the gospel according to Mark with a C. He is I, and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind. Thank you for joining me once again, my friends. I hope all is well with you guys. If you don't mind, hit the like, make sure you remain subscribed, and of course, if you want to contribute to the channel, you may do so using the super thanks feature on each and every one of my videos right there along the bottom of the screen. All right, guys. Now, if you came here to bitch about issues of immigration and all of that stuff, you're in the wrong place. This is just some straight talk about the movie that I saw last night. And there will be spoilers here. Okay, so there's your warning. There will be spoilers. Not that there's a whole lot to spoil here, guys. This has got to be the most straightforward, paint by the numbers kind of story that you could imagine it would be. It's a Superman story, guys. All right. The trickiest thing I would say about a Superman story is humanizing the character, because Superman has got to be one of the, I don't know, kind of the most blah characters I felt in history. I'm not the biggest Superman fan because I always felt like, well, it's Superman. You know, he's super everything. You know, he's super smart. He's super handsome. He's super, just everything. Super fast. All of it. So I was just like, okay, put him in a movie, and I don't know, he can kick everybody's ass as far as I know. But this was the task that James Gunn was faced with. Now, this is supposed to be the jumping off of James Gunn's DC universe. So there's a lot riding on this, guys. And I have to say, I was looking forward to this. You guys know I've talked about it on videos before. So I didn't go into this looking to hate it. I didn't go into this ready to lead with my political leanings. And I will just start off by saying this. If I could sum up my feelings about this movie in one word, it would probably be frustrated. Yeah, frustrated. Because, guys, look, the movie was good. I can see how normies are going to like this movie. I can see how you can get sucked into this world. And I will say this, for those people who said this is just going to be the DCU's version of the MCU, that is totally wrong. You will not even feel like Spider-Man could be just swinging through here. You know what I mean? Like, it's got a whole different feel. And that's something that I really do appreciate. I hope they lean into that, because DC has its own identity. It has its own feel, completely separate from Marvel. Marvel is like thoroughly based in like reality. You see, like I said, Spider-Man, he's swinging through New York. If you draw it right, I'll be like, oh, that's the West Side. You know what I mean? Oh, that's Harlem. You know what I mean? But with DC, it's Metropolis, it's Gotham City, it's fantasy. You know what I mean? And I really feel like if you could have that distinction between the DC universe and the Marvel universe, DC would be extremely strong. And I feel like that's what they got right here. It feels like it's totally different and separate. Um, Now, I would say this, all right, because right from the jump, what took me kind of out a little bit of this movie was the music. Okay, I don't hear anyone talking about this, but the music wasn't ambitious enough for me. If you're talking about Superman, the granddaddy of them all, the most powerful superhero of all time, as far as I know, or one of them, then you need to have that iconic theme, on par with John Williams. You got to have John Williams, Hans Zimmer. I mean, you got to have something, but I don't think there was any scene in this movie that lived up to dan 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 dan. It's just, if they had played that in its entirety like that version, it would have seemed like a flat out comedy, because it wasn't really living up to that. Superman was pretty much getting his ass handed to him for the majority of the movie. There was a reason for that. Like I said, there are spoilers here. Lex Luthor found a way to mimic or anticipate Superman's moves in a fight. So in a way, Superman was kind of fighting against himself, which honestly wouldn't necessarily end with him getting his ass whooped. If you ask me, it's like if you're fighting yourself, it seems like you would just be fighting to a standstill. You just wouldn't be getting your ass handed to you. You know what I mean? But that's kind of where it starts. It's like we got Superman here, and yeah, I'm sharing this image because that's pretty much how he spent the majority of the movie, getting up from getting knocked down, which yes is inspiring, but it's a little underwhelming, guys. And I will say this about David Corenswet: he is a magnificent Superman. I mean, he really is, man. It's like not only does he have the physique, but he also has the internal fortitude. Like you really sense from him that he is that Boy Scout, that he is that blue-eyed, farm boy, who just wants to do right by everything and everybody. He wants to save everybody, and this is his burden. He's trying to save everyone. He doesn't want to see any lives lost. And so in the beginning, he has been beaten by Ultraman, who, like I said before, has been programmed with his moves, so he can pretty much mimic his moves. So he gets whooped, and he also finds himself on the defensive because he has, I guess, he's interfered in the foreign affairs of a country that I'm sure is not supposed to be Palestine against the country that I'm certain is not supposed to be Israel. You know what I mean? But yes, and it brings up a question to me, guys. I don't know about you, but we learn in the first couple of minutes of the movie that Earth now has seen metahumans or super beings for a while now, right? So super beings are on the Earth, which makes me think, why is it Superman's responsibility to go racing all over the planet to save lives? You would think that totally not Palestine would have its own super Palestine man, or completely not Israel would have their own super Israel person. You know what I mean? They could call him, I don't know, Trump. I don't know. But anyway, so yeah. So you would think that, right? Like every country would have its own thing, like super Germany guy or something like that. So, because metahumans are all over the place, unless we're to believe that the metahumans are all based in America. You know what I mean? So in that case, there's nothing wrong with fighting for the American way if you're a metahuman from America, or the Germany way if you're from Germany. You get what I'm coming from? It's like, why is he all over the place if metahumans are a thing, But this is not the takeaway at all from David Corenswet or his portrayal of Superman. I just think that he is only as good as the script, So I'm gonna rest this squarely on James Gunn because he had a top-notch cast, guys, and that's what I'm going through here because I'm just showing you everybody. I mean, look, Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, incredible, as you can see. Look at those eyes, man. She's beautiful, got a nice rack too. I'm just saying. Lois, yeah, Lois is she's Lois Lane. She does a great job as Lois Lane. She's just as ambitious, no nonsense. I saw someone talking about, oh, they could have glammed her up. Lois Lane is not supposed to be glam, bro, unless she's doing something that means like she's going to some type of cotillion or social affair or something, But what she was what she's supposed to be. And she had insane chemistry with David Corenswet. I think they're both married in real life. I would be worried about these two. You know what I'm saying? Take your significant others out on press tour with you because these two are all up in each other's faces. I mean, it's crazy, So she did a great job, right? She really did. I have no problems with her. You know, I look forward to seeing more, of these two together. I can say that, they're probably right up there with the best of the Superman Lois combinations. Yeah, I'll give it to them. They nailed it. All right. So you have here Lex Luthor, or as I like to call him, Kylo Lex. Yes, Kylo Lex, because he reminds me of Kylo Ren in the so-called sequel trilogy of Star Wars, because he's all rage, but I don't understand his motivation. I always had that problem. It's been my pet peeve with Kylo Ren in the Star Wars sequel trilogy, and it's my peeve here with him. I will say that Nicholas Hoult did an amazing job. He was intense. He bought 1000%, and I just didn't understand the motivation of his hatred. Like, where was it coming from? They didn't explain it. And you know something, guys? This is the risk that you're running when you don't when you skip over origin stories, right? Like Superman's origin story is more than just, oh, he came from Krypton and we're just going to see a baby in a rocket ship and all of that stuff. It's like you have to understand how one thing leads to another. You know what I mean? Like we just got dropped into the conflict. So, but you got to understand what James Gunn is trying to do is build on this. And when you build, your foundation is important. I know we've all seen it before. I've heard people say, oh, we don't need to see it, but you got to have a strong foundation, right? So with Lex, the only thing I'm getting from him is that he's jealous of Superman, right? And I mean, they kind of imply that he's also an arms dealer, like he's into arms and he stands to benefit from war. So maybe Superman got in his way, when he was trying to, stop the conflict between not Palestine and not Israel. So maybe that has something to do with it. But that intense hatred, bro, like he was willing to kill anyone who was even next to Superman. Anyone, if you said, Morning, Superman, he wanted to kill you. Like that's some intense hatred. I needed to understand. I needed to grasp the character, because Nicholas Hoult really brought it, man. So I'm just saying, he kind of like underserved the character in that way. But once again, the cast was extremely talented. I lay this on the writer. Okay. So what do we have next? We have Krypto. Why is this a picture of a toy? Because that's what Krypto is there for. Now, this picture was actually taken off of the Amazon website. And guess what it said underneath? Out of stock. Yeah, out of stock. So people are running to buy this, man. Like that's what it's there for. Mission accomplished. But Krypto in the show, in the movie, it was cool to see. That's very seldom do we see Krypto in these Superman iterations. So to see it was cool. Krypto was a bad dog, kind of rambunctious and everything. But we all know, we all have dogs like that. I know that Krypto reminded me of my ex-wife's dogs. She's got like 3 of them and they're all bad, because she's bad and she lets them be bad because to her they're cute, so they're misbehaving, they're all over the place, jumping all over everybody and all that stuff. And, so that's what Krypto is, so I guess that would make my ex-wife kind of similar to Supergirl. Like I said, these are spoilers. Supergirl shows up in the end. Millie Alcock, as usual. I would just say this about Millie Alcock. Like, she's got crazy, crazy charisma and presence. I think she was only on screen for maybe like 10, 15 seconds. But that 10, 15 seconds, I was like, bro, she's got it, man. She's just fun to watch. You know what I mean? But also, with the Supergirl character, I have to wonder if Superman believes that his parents sent him there to conquer Earth, as they say in the movie, then wouldn't he be kind of looking at Supergirl like, what do you know about this? Are you here for that too? Because she's a little bit more self-aware historically than Kal-El is, than Superman is. So it seems like it's kind of a plot hole that it would just be all good when she comes back. It's like you would think when she comes back to get her dog, he would be like, we need to talk. What is this? What's going on here? But, they play for laughs. And that's another thing about James Gunn. Like, obviously, the James Gunn humor thing is here. Now, there's an old Billy Joel song called Leave a Tender Moment Alone, wherein he's saying that when he's in a loving moment with his significant other, he messes it up by always trying to tell her a comical line or a joke or something like that. Look, James Gunn, leave a tender moment alone. It's like leave a significant moment alone. You don't always have to diffuse the situation with a joke. Your script could go a lot further if you did that. Okay, now here we have Guy Gardner, played to perfection by Nathan Fillion, right? And he did a great job, man. I mean, he's always good. He's always fun to watch. I am not the most knowledgeable person with this character, so for me going in, I was the normie here, but I like what I saw, man. And he represented the Justice Gang. They actually called themselves the Justice Gang, and it was him, it was Hawk Girl, and it was Mr. Terrific, who we'll be talking about later. But this is where I feel like James Gunn actually excels, and we all know this. I mean, he did Creature Commandos, he did Suicide Squad, he did, of course, Guardians of the Galaxy. This is kind of what he does, that kind of you know smart ass ragtag group, misfits brought together, doing heroic shit, you know what I mean? But they're walking that line, you know what I mean? And I think that's where he's strongest at. When it came to Superman, I just think that I don't think he had the patience, to like really sit down and get in touch with the character. There was something just a little bit missing there, man. It came up a little bit short, but I will say though, I do feel like he did a better job than Zack Snyder, but in the end, they both had the same hang up. They both had their material lower than themselves. In other words, they didn't know how to rise above their own voices. Like you always knew you were watching a James Gunn movie. With Zack Snyder, you always know that you're watching a Zack Snyder movie. Sometimes you can actually do these films in such an artistic way where, yeah, you'll have your little trademarks here and there, but your voice shouldn't be all over the place. Definitely not your politics. But let's see who's next here. We have, yes, there he is, guys, Mr. Terrific. Okay, Mr. Terrific, played by Eddie uh Kalehi, I want to say. I don't know. I'm pronouncing it, mispronouncing it, but yeah, there he is, Mr. Terrific. Everyone is talking about this character for good reason. He's got tremendous presence, did a great job with this character. He was probably the only character in the movie that I felt like was confident, who knew what he was doing, who knew why he was doing it, and was staying on target, for the whole thing. He just had a great presence, man. And I agree. I think there's a lot of potential here for him to be a breakout. I hear some people saying that he could possibly get his own TV show. TV show is a little bit short sighted to me. I would love to see him get the big screen treatment. I read to you his character the other day on the other video. He's got a very interesting backstory, and I would love to see that fleshed out. It seems to me it would be very much appropriate for the big screen. And he did a lot with his time on the screen. So sure, I would love to see it. Great job he did. All right. So let's see who we got next. Just making a few observations here. Okay, Jimmy Olsen. Yeah, he was played for laughs. For some reason, he was supposed to be coveted by all the ladies and stuff. In a way, it did play a very important part in the movie, as far as getting things settled and all that stuff. But I'm like, I don't know why it went that way. You know what I mean? But it's a little fun thing to do. Of course, casting, he did a great job with this and everything. So Jimmy Olsen, that's the dude, you know, great. All right. So in the end, right, I will say that James Gunn, he was challenged. Like I said before, I'm sure he's glad that this is now out there. It's now behind him. So maybe they can go on to bigger and better things, to flesh out this universe. This was a good first step. I think it's doing good business. I see a lot of people saying great things about it, so they might not have the hangups, that I had with it. Like I said, I don't think that it was bad. I just think that it could have been, and it should have been better if he had thought more about the actual character than his ambitions. And this is what I'm talking about. James Gunn, it's like you got a lot of people talking about things that don't even matter. The whole immigration thing, although I told you Superman is a refugee, okay? He's a refugee. So I don't even want to have that conversation. Call him an immigrant if you want. We're not going to do that. But the point is that, yeah, I think that next time, or as he goes forward, perhaps maybe in the sequel, he can direct. He's a very gifted director with great vision, but perhaps he should look at other writers, other writers who will actually challenge themselves to get to the core of the character. I think David Corenswet can definitely rise to that type of challenge as an actor. He's got that presence, man. And I think that the whole cast, like I said before, they're only as good as James Gunn wrote them. And I feel like he kind of fell short with his writing on this one a little bit, guys. Yeah, Superman. Now, he's good, man. I mean, look at this. The only thing I still have a problem with his costume. Like, this is way too loose, way too baggy, too much going on. Like, this face, right? Look at him. Look at this dude. Like, if you had given him the classic Superman uniform, with the I don't know what you would call it, leotards. I don't know. But I think, man, he would have looked the part so much. This dude is tall, he's got a nice build. He would have rocked that, bro. I don't know why they made the decision to do this. I'm not a fan of this, like he can have the underwear and stuff. I like that. I like the colors. I like that it's bright. I think that he did a great job, man. It's like, I want to see this. Like I said, this distinguishes DC from Marvel. DC is supposed to be bright, unless you're talking about Batman. You know what I mean? Batman is supposed to be dark and gloomy and all that stuff because it contrasts with Superman. But Superman, definitely, this is supposed to be it. Now, finally, I want to say this, guys, to everybody out there who is mourning the presence of Henry Cavill. I get it, man. Henry Cavill was good, man. He was perfect as Superman. I watched the Justice League. You know, I watched Man of Steel. I had my issues with Man of Steel. Everybody knows this by now. You know, Justice League, I made my videos supporting it and everything. I was never a Snyder bro, but I definitely appreciated what he tried to do with that. It had nothing to do with Henry Cavill, but let's keep it real, dudes. It was time. All right. This dude was aging out. You know, I'm sorry. They didn't strike while the iron was hot. They wasted too much time. All right. This picture here is an actual photo of Henry Cavill. Okay. What you saw in the movie was CGI. Yes, they used a CGI comb over, but this was it, guys. This is the awful reality of the situation. You had to let it go, man. You know, I'm telling you this out of love. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Obviously, that's something that's going around on the internet. That's not what the man really looks like. At least I don't think he does. He didn't look like that in the movie. Let's put it that way. But listen, guys, you guys know, if you've been watching my videos long enough, that I have a rating system. The rating system consists of flushes, okay? Whereas if I give your movie 0 flushes, it means no shit. This movie was a classic. You know, if you get anywhere between 1 to 4 flushes, that's the level of shit that's involved in the movie. Okay, if you get 4 flushes, it means it's totally full of shit. Just flush that, man. It's a wrap. It's garbage. All right. Now, Superman 2025 by James Gunn. I will give. I got to give it 2 flushes, man, because there was just stuff in there that it could have been better, man. You know, it should have been better. I'm not saying that it was terrible. Obviously, there's 2 flushes it didn't get. You know, but yeah, 2 flushes, man, because I feel like it didn't rise above James Gunn's ego, you know? And better luck next time. That's all I got to say. I'm not turned off to it. I wouldn't say don't go see it. I wouldn't recommend it either. I mean, I just think that the way things are now, everything is subjective. It depends on what you go there looking for. For some people, if you're just going there to feel good, um, maybe you can get that because David Corenswet, his performance is definitely wholesome. You know, it's a good start. It's a good start. I like his presence. You know, like I said before, but yeah, I got to be critical about this, guys. I'm not hating. You know, I don't care about all that extra shit that I was talking about before. This is the review for those people who get confused. You know, I make my commentary about movies or TV shows, and then the review is something separate. This is the review, 2 flushes. Guys, if you saw it, you can get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about all of that, guys. I really feel strongly about that music thing too, man. The music really downplayed it for me. Like, I need something freaking epic for Superman. I need something that's like, you know what I mean? Like, just didn't come with that, man. But I'm looking forward to being in this universe, though. Guys, let me know. As always, you can like, you can share, you can subscribe. As always, make sure you remain subscribed. And if you want to contribute, as I said before, please use the super thanks. I mean, I know I don't live stream, but you got to admit, I'm one of the livest pre-recording YouTubers that's out there, bro. Ain't nobody liver than me. So I appreciate you guys. I'm just tooting my own horn. Check you out on the next one. This is The Gospel According to Mark with a C.